Hi, Tim Jones here, and welcome to another edition of View from the Bleachers. Today's topic, my chronic tendency to rate everything. Like, how happy am I feeling today? Well, on a 1 to 5 happiness scale, I'd say I'm a high 4, maybe a low 5. Yeah, that's about right. Well, it's true. I like to rank stuff. My top 10 favorite comedians, my top 10 ice cream flavors. Magazines, well, they're always ranking everything from the best places to travel to the top 50 most beautiful women in show business. Actually, anyone can come up with a list. For example, the other day, my wife told me that watching my View from the Bleachers humor videos ranked as the #1 time waster of her entire week. Yeah, that seems about right. I'll explain this issue more on the other side. Welcome back. This week's topic, my obsession with ranking and rating everything. Speaking of rating things, my wife will happily tell any random stranger she meets that her husband is far from perfect. On a scale of 1 to 5, I think she'd probably rate me a 2.4. Okay, so I'm not perfect. When it comes to my looks, I'd give myself maybe a 6 out of 10. My taste in clothes, perhaps a 4. Although my wife would score me a 1.5 if we're talking about ties. This is what I wore last week to dinner. Check it out. What's wrong with a paisley tie adorning a plaid shirt anyway? Personally, I think it works. My YouTube viewers' average rating of my humor writing ability? Are we grading on a curve? My point is that I have plenty of shortcomings, but if you ask my wife, she'll tell you, especially if you're a complete stranger, that one of my most irritating personality quirks is my compulsive need to rank everything. Okay, I'll admit it, I do have a tendency to rate and rank stuff. I can't resist asking other people to rank things too. For me, it's an icebreaker. I'll often start off a conversation with, say, a waitress at a barbecue ribs restaurant with, "Hi, Carla, nice rack you got there." Of ribs, rack of ribs. Quick question, which 3 states would you least like to live in? Or when my girls were in high school, I might greet my teenage daughter with, "Rise and shine, Rachel. It's 2:15 in the afternoon. Time to get out of bed. Oh, by the way, of all the cats we've ever had, which one was your absolute favorite?" This is a collage of the cats we've had over the years, and because I'm sure you're curious, I would have accepted any of the following: Dusty, Monster, Buddy, Buttons, Captain Video, and Rat Bastard. Oh, okay, just kidding. We never actually had a cat named Buttons. You see, my wife, she finds my need to rank everything, rank. But it's not just me. Every time I'm in the grocery store checkout, just about every magazine cover has some teaser promoting another top 10 list. Top 10 signs your spouse is cheating on you. Top 10 exotic island getaways. Top 10 nastiest internet scams to avoid. Top 10 exotic island getaways if you think your spouse may be cheating on you in an internet scam. Well, when after 75 minutes I finally got through to a Comcast customer service rep about my internet being down for the last 6 days, they will invariably ask me to take a short survey at the end, ask me to rate the service from 1 to 10. Well, I always give them across the board 1s, but I'll throw them a bone and give them a 4 for cleanliness. My rating things compulsion started way back in grade school. This was my childhood best friend, Danny Scott. One day I asked Danny to rank his favorite friends. He got all the way to his 15th favorite friend without mentioning me. And then he said he had to go home for dinner, and he asked me if he could borrow my bike. I never got my bike back. I consider Danny my all-time worst best friend. Over time, my obsession with ranking things escalated. At first, it was innocent enough, ranking the top 5 tastiest breakfast cereals. Personally, I'd have to go with Fruit Loops at #1, but I'll admit a case could be made for Apple Jacks or Cocoa Puffs. Gradually, I migrated to ranking more serious subjects like the best sports cars and the sexiest cast members of the show Cheers. Unquestionably, I'd have to go with Rachel at #1 and Ross at #6. Sorry, Ross. Rachel was way out of your league, buddy. I have to tell you, this ranking everything is a hard habit to break. I once went an entire week without ranking anything. That was the third worst week of my entire life. Speaking of rankings, a big fat congratulations to the USA for coming in second on a list of the top 10 fattest countries in the world. I find this list is a great way to start off a conversation, unless, of course, the person I'm talking to happens to be from Kuwait. Asking people to give me their rankings about things gets them to open up with me. I often learn things about them that I never knew before. Like when I recently asked my neighbor Antonio, of all the ex-girlfriends you've ever dated, if you had to marry one of them, which one would you choose? Well, who knew that Antonio hated being asked intrusive questions like that? Or that he was gay? Thanks for sharing, Antonio. Okay, so I like to rate things. There's almost nothing I won't rate or invite others to rate. Top 5 foods if you were trapped on a desert island. Chunky peanut butter would definitely be on my list. The top 10 best television sitcoms of all time. Gotta include the Dick Van Dyke Show on my list. The 10 stupidest mistakes you've made as a parent. Well, number 3 on my list would have to be the time I taught my 9-year-old daughter how to hitchhike. But I have to say, she really surprised me when 3 days later she called me from a payphone outside of Nashville, Tennessee, asking if I could come get her. She was fine. Hungry, but fine. I realize now that my tendency to ask others to rate things annoys some people, including 4 of my 5 closest friends and my least favorite sibling. That would be Ted. But seriously, is this really that big a deal? I have to say, when it comes to my many personality quirks, this one is relatively mild. On a 1 to 10 scale, I'd give it at most a 6. Well, that's the view from the bleachers. Sorry if this week's video was not one of my best. On a 1 to 10 scale, I'd probably give it a 5. But I'll try harder next week. But when it comes to followers of my YouTube channel, I have to tell you, you're number 1.